All right, we are live. We have a new beer from Propeller Brewing that I noticed at the NSLC today. Also noticed something interesting that unfortunately I won't be reviewing because I don't do outside of the Maritimes beers anymore as far as like reviews go. But Bellwood's, what's it called? Bellwood's, some sort of sour. I can't remember what the fuck it's called now even. And I have it downstairs in my fridge, but that's whatever. But yeah, we got something new here. This is from Propeller Brewing. This is their flat white stout. So this is okay. Yeah, Jelly King. There we go. Dan, Western Canadian reviewer. Go check him out on YouTube if you have not. He is saying is Jelly King from Bellwoods is the other one I found. Yes, thank you, Dan. So this is new for Propeller. I'm pretty sure this only came out like this year. If I'm mistaken on that, someone can correct me, perhaps. But this is a new seasonal for them, and basically they're just getting into the white stout thing. And I don't believe I've had a white stout before. I've had white IPAs, but I don't believe I've ever had a white stout before. And immediately you kind of think, well, is this some sort of wheat beer that's like crossed with a stout or something? No, it's not. It's basically an amber ale that has like coffee flavors, like flavors you'd expect from a porter or a stout. And let's see, Dan says he might have seen that here. He needs to check. Dan gets all the beer, over in Alberta. It's like, hey, we just import anything from any province, no problem. Um, but yeah, so we're gonna take a real quick little look here at some screen sharing. So, and we want a Chrome tab. And I just wanted to share this. So, Rate Beer has a listing for white stout. Beer Advocate does not. They don't seem to recognize this as an official style. Whenever I look at beers that Beer Advocate have under whatever website, if something's called a white stout, that's usually listed under like the categorization of like imperial stout, flavored stout, whatever. Okay, so like they're saying here, white stout, roast, flavored coffee. There's different names for it: white stout, golden stout, blonde stout, stout blanc, coffee blonde, and it's generally sort of falls under flavored beer, flavored ale. I don't know quite why that would be. I guess because sometimes they add coffee to do this, right? To actually get these flavors. So white stout, gold stout, or blonde stout can either be used to describe a coffee-forward beer where the SRM is blonde or golden in color, and to describe a beer the brewer calls white, golden, blonde, stout, or porter where the SRM is also appropriately light, and usually includes coffee in the process to give the roast flavor. Yeah, so there you go. So usually this is more easily done artificially, right? Okay, so we'll stop sharing that one. And we'll just go to Propeller here for a second. Where is... I'm so good at this. I'm so good at this. There we go. So here's your can here, flat white stout, golden ale of unexpected flavors are coffee and cocoa. So they do actually add coffee and cocoa nibs in this. So basically, and they got flaked oats to kind of give it a good body, I guess is what they're saying here. They make a mistake here and say minus 1% ABV, which is not a thing, and they say it's their fall seasonal. A bit early for fall, I will say, but then again, I guess considering still this week it's fucking hot as shit out, but probably better than releasing your pumpkin beer in August. whatever, and you can get in growlers and cans. Stop sharing there. Okay, so this one is one that has been flavored technically. So we're gonna pour it now. Let's see what we think. So yeah, as you can see, does not look like a stout. Honestly, why call it coffee stout other than like it kind of sounds sexier, I guess, marketing wise, right? Like I just say coffee ale or coffee pale ale or what was one of the ones, Java blonde or coffee blonde or something like that? Sounds way better. I kind of like that. Honestly, that sounds more attractive to me than white stout because white stout, again, like I was saying, I was thinking wheat beer and stout. That does not sound like that's going to work. But yeah, so it looks good. It's got a little bit of head going on there. It's definitely a nice blonde color, fairly clear. Maybe a little bit of haze in there, but or it might just be chill haze. Yeah, pretty much. There's some particulates in there, so it is a little bit of the hazy, a little bit of haze. So we'll go right to the aroma. Mm. Okay, Dan is saying, "Oh, just check. We don't get the white stout here. Other ones like the New England IPA, which is that would be the Galaxy. I think is the one you're referring to there, Dan, perhaps, and the Tropic Haze Summer Ale, and the Pills. Yeah, all right. Yeah, the Galaxy. Dan says, yeah, which I like, even though I'm not a big haze fan. I'm not a big New England beer fan, but I mean, Propeller tends to dial back their stuff a little bit. Like they don't tend to go super crazy with their shit. So their New England style beer is definitely a bit more subdued, I'd say. Yeah, so this is straight up coffee. Like I'm getting maybe a little bit of a kind of a caramelly malt in the background, but it's like what they said they added to it: coffee and cocoa nibs. Anything else on the can here that they didn't have on the cold brewed Java blend coffee? Yeah, and it smells pretty fresh too. Barley, wheat, oats. Oh, interesting. Okay. And the ingredients thing here, they say contains barley, wheat, oats, and milk. May contain rye, which they say on all their stuff these days. Um, okay, so it's very one note in the nose, pretty much. Like it's coffee, cocoa nibs. Comes off as like a more of a confectionery kind of coffee smell. Because there is an underlying like slight malt sweetness there too. But you can definitely get like you can just tell the infusion of coffee in here. Basically, it's like walking down the coffee aisle in a grocery store, that kind of thing, like that. Just that there's that hint in the air, this that waft of it, just in that localized area, kind of thing. Yeah, cheers. We're gonna go to the taste. Okay. Yeah, I would not call this. I wouldn't have called this white stout. That's for sure. Because honestly, when you think stout, um, and Joe saying, "I'm here because this is a bike talk free zone. Yes, indeed it is, sir. You're safe here. Anyone who starts talking bikes gets banned. Banned. Banhammer. I think Joe might actually be a mod on this chat if I'm not mistaken. So you see like Greg show up and like say something about bikes, just fucking get rid of them. And Dan saying, "Thank God for that," or whatever deity. Yeah, there ain't no God involved when it comes to bikes. So there we go. Yeah, I wouldn't have even put Stout on this can. I know they're saying it's that style and that's the name for the style. It's a bit of a misnomer. Has nowhere near the roastiness that you would come to expect from like a stout or a porter or anything like that on that sort of side of the spectrum. I mean, you get a little bit of roastiness, but that's just purely the coffee roast. And it's there, but it's not at the intensity that you'd have from any sort of stout worth its shit. So like honestly calling this more like a coffee, like a Java blonde or a coffee blonde or something like that, that seems much more a better way to describe this kind of thing, right? Because you do get your sort of standard blonde ale kind of taste here. You can sort of pull that from the drink when you're not encountering the little bit of like coffee roastiness. And it is kind of lower medium bodied. So like I said, they added oats and stuff to this to try to thicken it a little bit, give it a little bit more body, and it has worked. And it drinks very smooth. Finishes bit of a lingering coffee finish, but again, it's not stout. It's not a stout finish. And let's see here. CB Falls saying very cool review, Lee. Thank you, sir. And Joe, the Beer Patrol, saying, I've had quite a few white stouts, and I agree. I almost would never call them a stout. Just marketing. I feel, a white stout? Let me try that. Yeah, exactly. That's the conclusion I've come to as well. Here, basically having my first one ever. And I guess in a way, I can see why, as much as I'm not a big fan of Beer Advocate, I can see why they don't list this as kind of like a actual style that they categorize under. They should categorize under, like, blonde coffee ale or coffee blonde or whatever the fuck. That seems very appropriate. But I guess you could also just get away with keeping this in the sort of nebulous flavored beer, flavored ale, whatever, right? But let's not get too wrapped up in styles. Like we'll try to keep this. I still listed it, style, white stout, whatever, right? But grading for style, basically this is a coffee flavored beer, flavored ale, whatever you want to call it, and it's decent. Like you do get a nice bit of coffee in it. You can still tell the ale part of it too. It's not like super one way or another. It's fairly well balanced. It's kind of tasty. Finishes with a good coffee roast. And it's definitely not a stout. And I'm not going to hold that against it just because it says white stout. So I'm going to go, I'm going to give myself a little room here. Hopefully I can have some more of these down the road and sort of broaden my horizons, get a better kind of like lock on what this is supposed to be, this little niche part of this style, what this is supposed to be. I'm going to say 8. I got no problems with this. I'm sure there's better examples of this. but this is pretty goddamn good. This feels pretty goddamn good to me. And my own personal preference, it's not terrible. It's definitely not terrible. It's pretty fucking good. Would I buy it again? Probably, yeah. I still get another one to enjoy. And I throw 7 at it. Yeah, that feels fair to me. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not the sort of thing I generally would drink all the time, but I would buy it again. And yeah, I think that's where it sits. Let's see here. And then we got Western Canadian Reviewer. There have been some that have been a trip because you do get that stout flavor. I can imagine so, yeah. Like some of them do go so hardcore into the coffee that you get enough roastiness that it really gets stout wise, right? And might even add like more cocoa nibs and like chocolate or some other bullshit to it too, right? And he says, I've had a blonde stout too, which I think is accurate. Okay. Yeah. I've long kind of tried to detach myself from all these little weird categorizations of beer and just like kind of, in general, this is kind of what it is. And if it sort of in general fits that, then yeah, you get a high score for, style, whatever. You're not going to see any BJCP stuff on my channel. So, and then Joe saying, yeah, most white stouts I've had usually have cocoa nibs and coffee, which makes sense to me. Yeah, makes total sense. And he says, yeah, way too many sub-styles at this point. Agreed. It's just like, it's all just marketing BS. Like, it's kind of like there are key core types of beer that you can basically make, and then there's so many variations off of those key types that you can make, and like the IPA makes no sense anymore. What's an IPA? What's a pale ale? What's an American style pale ale is just about everybody else's IPA, like it. Been in the game too long, boys. I've seen it all at this point, pretty much. Yeah. Anyway, we gone on way too long here. This is gonna fucking turn into a goddamn half-hour show. And Joe's saying we need more acronyms, sons. IPA, IPL, DDH. Give it all to me. And Dan saying BWBA and others. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for watching, guys. 4 people watching. CB Fall, Dan, Joe, and whoever else was watching. Cheers to you, all of you, and whoever else watches later on. And I'm going to take off and enjoy my night. I've got the Jelly King to drink and some light beer to drink after that. Yes. So have a good night, guys. Bye-bye.